Hello, I'd like to call the November 1st, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Anderson,
Here.
Burton,
Here.
Murray,
Here.
Smithwick Ailey,
Here.
Toutfest,
Here.
and Chair Vadla has an excused absence, making Vice Chair Toutfest our chair for today. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda? Are there any objections to approving the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Are there any changes to the minutes? Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes for the regular planning and zoning meeting of October 4th, 2023 are approved. Presentations with prior notice, none. And then we are on to public hearings. Resolution PZ 2023-022 granting a conditional use permit for the development of a single family residential dwelling and patio within the Kenai River Overlay District located at 268 Diane Lane. May I have a motion to approve, please?
I move to approve resolution PZ 2023-022, granting a conditional use permit for the development of a single-family residential dwelling and patio within the Kenai River Overlay District located at 268 Diane Lane.
A second. Thank you. May we have a staff report?
Thank you. So this is a application for the construction of a single family home. The applicant is Jim and Debbie Delker. And the property is 268 Diane Lane, which is zoned single family, two family. The property is not served by city sewer or water at this point. The application is for the construction of a 4,000 plus square foot home and patio. As I mentioned, it's in the single family, two family zoning district, and a portion of it does fall within the Kenai River Overlay District. At its closest, the home would be about 90 feet from the river. And as you know, the Kenai River Overlay District is 100 feet back from the ordinary high water. And then the proposed patio is an additional 10 feet. So we're looking at approximately the closest point of the new construction being 80 feet from the ordinary high water mark. Total area of the home that would be within the Kenai River Overlay District is 392 square feet, and the total area of the patio located in the Kenai River Overlay District is 620 square feet. This will require some removal of vegetation to occur within the construction area at its closest, about 78 feet from the ordinary high water mark. The application was forwarded to the Soldotna Building Official, Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation, and the Gilman River Center, and we received feedback from the River Center that no permitting is required, and we received no comments from DEC. So our code 1710-285, which is the Kenai River Overlay District, does require projects that are not exempt and have not received an administrative permit to go through the process for a conditional use permit. And you've seen these before, not only for homes, but for other activities as well. And at this point, I think I'll move into the analysis section where we take a look at the zoning requirements in single family, two family. This project, as it's proposed, meets all standards within the zoning district. The intent of the overlay district is to provide opportunities for the development and use of land, enhancement of riparian habitat within all the zoning districts located along the Kenai River, while establishing special overlay requirements to control erosion, ground or surface water contamination, or adverse alteration of riparian habitat. The applicant has applied for the Kenai River Overlay District conditional use permit to allow the construction of the home and the patio. Again, at its closest point, the home would be 90 feet and the patio would be 80 feet. In addition to the general standards required for conditional use permit, the Soldotna Municipal Code also requires the commission to make a complete written statement of evidence and findings and require the applicant to meet any conditions imposed to mitigate potential for significant erosion, ground or surface water contamination, or adverse alteration of riparian habitat. And we did add findings to the resolution for your review and approval. Our code also requires us to send a copy to the, as I mentioned, to the River Center. We did that. We didn't receive comments back. So we're good with those agencies. And on page 15 of the packet, Jen's got it up there, are the standards for conditional uses. The first one is that the proposed development satisfies the specific standards associated with the conditional use listed in the code, if any. There aren't any specific standards listed in the single-family, two-family zoning district for single-family homes. However, in the Kenai River Overlay District, the standard is that, again, we look for opportunities, or I should say that the intent of the district is to provide opportunities for development, provided we protect the habitat. With revegetation of the disturbed area, staff finds that the proposed development is in harmony with the intent of the overlay district, and this is in harmony with the zoning district as well. Number two, the use is in harmony with the comprehensive plan and surrounding land uses. Staff finds this standard is met. The proposed project is in harmony with the comp plan and surrounding land uses. The surrounding homes in this area also have decks that face the river, and so this is consistent with that type of development. The third standard for approving a conditional use is that the use meets the general standards of the zoning code and the intent of the district in which it is located. Staff finds this standard is met. The proposed project meets the general standards of the code to include the general standards of the single-family, two-family district and the Kenai River Overlay District. Conditions are recommended by staff to mitigate the potential for erosion, ground or surface water contamination, and alteration of habitat. And those are the conditions stated in the resolution. The fourth standard that you need to consider is whether the use is located and arranged on the lot to avoid significant noise, glare, odor, or other nuisances and dangers. Staff finds this standard is met by itself. Staff finds that the home and patio addition aren't going to create any more noise, glare, odor, or other nuisances or dangers than any other home in the district. The fifth standard is that the proposed development shall not significantly impair the value of adjoining properties. Here too, the staff finds that the standard is met, and as I mentioned earlier, the house patio very similar to neighboring properties, and we're not aware of any evidence that would suggest that this type of use would impair adjoining property values. The sixth standard is that the size and scale of the use is such that it shall be adequately served by existing public services and facilities. Staff finds this standard is met. The proposed additions require no additional public services. Property is located in CES service response area served by Soldotna Police Department. The applicant is going to connect to city water. And so that would be the only additional public service that would be expanded for this particular use. The seventh item is granting the conditional use shall not be harmful to public safety, health, and welfare, and staff finds this standard is met. The building that they're proposing is consistent, again, with neighboring uses and is located 80 feet from the Kenai River at its closest point. Provided that the recommended mitigation measures are followed, staff doesn't believe that the granting of the permit will be harmful to the public safety, health, or welfare. And last, the A standard is to ensure that the applicant is up to date with the city's property taxes, sale taxes, utility bills, and assessment. And that standard is met. The finance department reported there are no outstanding obligations. Staff Did mail 19 notices to neighbors. We have not received any comments as of the writing of this report. As I mentioned, we didn't receive any objections from any of the agencies at the River Center or any comments from our department heads here in City Hall. So our recommendation is to approve the resolution for the home and patio. And we have 5 standards that are, or I should say 5 conditions that are recommended. 1 is that the applicant must obtain a building permit. 2 is that that they provide for the revegetation of any area that's disturbed no later than July 31st, 2025. And 3rd, erodible materials shall be monitored to ensure they are not leaving the construction site. 4th, if there is a potential for soil erosion, some mitigation measures be placed to prevent them from moving off the property and into the river. And then last, that excavated fill, if it needs to be temporarily deposited, that be away from the river rather than towards the river with regard to the excavated materials. That is the end of the staff report.
Okay, thank you. The public comment period is now open. Is there any member of the public who wish to speak on this item? Okay, could you please come forward and state your name and where you live? And press the, so the green light comes on. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is James Delker. I live at 261 River Watch, which is adjacent to the present property that we're proposing to build on. I don't have a whole lot to add, other than we're in the process of forming a development agreement with the city to get water run to our properties. All 3 properties, my neighbors and I have joined, and we're going to try to add a water main to get property for that. And as well as looking at a development agreement to actually pave and add wastewater disposal, or not sewer disposal, but just groundwater to tie into the city system to kind of get water away, because there's a spot on there that historically has been kind of a source of puddles and such. And so we're trying to enter into a development agreement with the city to get that done with the 4 adjacent neighbors that are there, are existing there, and the 1 neighbor who is also going to build. So those are ongoing things that hopefully will be bringing to the city council in the next coming months, and looking forward to having those completed next year as well too. So are there any questions that you have of myself? I have my builder here as well too. Chad Anderson would be able to answer any questions you might have regarding the proposed project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is there anybody else wishing to speak? Is there anybody online? Is online? Okay, with no one else wishing to speak, the public comment period is now closed. Are there any commission comments or questions for staff? Nope. Any online? Okay, I guess we'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Commissioner Talpest,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith-Wiggley,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yeah.
Commissioner Burton,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will move on to unfinished business. There's none. Now we are on to new business. Resolution PZ 2023-019, recommended approval for the Mooring Estate subdivision Dunbar addition. May I have a motion to approve? Please.
Commissioner Murray, I'd move to approve the Mooring Estate subdivision Dunbar addition, resolution number PZ 2023-019.
Second. Second. Okay. May we have the staff report, please?
A link to the staff, oh, sorry about that. A link to the staff report can be found on page 27 of the printed packet. On October 4th, the Planning and Zoning Commission failed resolution PZ 2023-017 that proposed to subdivide parcel 059-31256 with a through street connecting Knight Drive to Ridgewood Drive, and made the following findings of fact. And I'm going to display them on the monitor here. The first one was that the commission finds that the city's residents voiced strong public opposition to the through street from Ridgewood Drive to Knight Drive. The second, the commission has concerns for the neighborhood's safety in terms of traffic and criminal activity within access to Knight Drive. The third, commission finds that the lack of sidewalks along Ridgewood Drive make the through street more dangerous versus a cul-de-sac option. Fourth, the commission has concerns for the neighbors' residential integrity being kept separate from the industrial uses present along Knight Drive. These neighboring areas have very different uses in nature. Fifth, the commission has concerns over the detrimental effect on property values of the residents in the existing subdivision and potentially those residents in the proposed subdivision. And then finally, the sixth, the commission values the increased connectivity for pedestrian access that the subdivision could grant north of Knight Drive to Soldotna High School. The commission noted that such connectivity could be provided by an easement from Knight Drive to a cul-de-sac rather than a through road. On October 5th, 2023, Edge Survey and Design submitted a preliminary plat to the city for the subdivision of one tract into 6 lots and 1 right-of-way. Edge Survey and Design represents the owner of record, 5D Investments LLC, and Ken Dunbar. The preliminary plat subdivides parcel number 059-31256, which is an unsubdivided remainder. According to the Kenai Peninsula Borough, this parcel has an area of 6.8 acres and is undeveloped. The subdivision of this parcel will result in lots 9 through 11 and lots 18 through 20, and the dedication of a 60-foot right-of-way with a cul-de-sac design and a 10-foot pedestrian and utility easement to the north. The lots range in size from 0.919 acres to 0.943 acres. The parent parcel is zoned single-family, two-family. All 6 lots that would result from the subdivision would also be zoned single-family, two-family. Adjacent land to the north is unincorporated borough land outside of the city limits. Land to the east and west are zoned single-family, two-family. Land to the east is multifamily zoning district. The minimum lot size, minimum lot width, maximum building height, and minimum yard standards of our code in 240E are met for the single-family, two-family zoning district in regards to each of the lots 9 through 11 and 18 through 20. And there's an appendix table that goes into each lot at the end of your packet, or at the end of this section of this packet. The application was forwarded to the Soldotna Public Works and Streets and Maintenance for their comments. No comments were received. Municipal water and sewer are not available within 300 feet of the lot lines. Staff did receive 4 written comments from the public, which are printed out for you as a laydown item. The comments are supportive of the replat design as altered from the previous rendition, which had a through street connection between Ridgewood Drive and Knight Drive. For Nancy Courtwright's comment, I'll go into that for a second. That is on the 3rd page of the laydown item. Her chief concern is about drainage. She speaks to a lake that forms on her lot as well as a grassy road next to her lot. And this occurs after snow melt in the spring. She asked for the city to consider that drainage issue and that for storm drains beginning at the intersection along the new cul-de-sac and adjoining Knight Drive. And so we talked to our director of public maintenance, and this was his comment. He said that street construction will need to be designed by an engineer and approved by the city. It would be great to remedy any existing drainage problems with future development, and we would strive to do this. But there is a reasonable amount of related costs to be borne by the developer. This is one thing is certain is that the new street construction should not exacerbate, or contribute to any existing drainage issues. There is actually a middle block storm connection from Diane Lane to Knight Drive. It was built around 2006 and connects to the 1987 Knight Drive storm line. And that's his picture right here that he's drawing in. Another comment requested a change of the zoning to single family. And also one of the comments requested that the cul-de-sac come from Knight Drive rather than from Ridgewood. Legal access to lots 9 through 11. I'm going to switch back, sorry. Legal access to lots 9 through 11 and to lots 18 through 20 is from Ridgewood Drive. Legal access from Knight Drive is also available to lot 11 and 20. The dedicated 60-foot right-of-way will give access to lots 9 through 11 and 18 through 20. The 60-foot dedicated right-of-way is supposed to be a cul-de-sac. This cul-de-sac requires an exception from the Kenai Peninsula Borough Code 2030-170 for maximum block length. The city presents the Planning and Zoning Commission's October 4th, 2023 findings of fact as support for an exemption from the Kenai Peninsula Borough's block length standards. An installation or subdivision agreement will be required. And so with this, the preliminary plat to the Mooring Estate subdivision Dunbar Edition meets the standards of our code. Resolution 2023-019 has been provided for your use and recommends approval to the Kenai Peninsula Borough. Thank you.
Thank you. The public comment period is now open. Is there any member of the public who wish to speak on this item? And please state your name for the record.
Jason Young, P O Box 59 Kasilof. I am the surveyor with Edge Surveys representing the landowner on this, and pretty obvious, we just changed the design with the cul-de-sac. I added a pedestrian easement from Knight Drive, so kids walking to school can still cut through there and get to the high school. It is gonna need the exception by the borough for the through street. But with the support of the neighborhood and not wanting the through street, I'm pretty sure they'll go for it. And I got a pretty good list of findings for that. So we'll see what happens on their end, but pretty straightforward, just change the cul-de-sac.
Is there anybody else wish to speak? Anybody else? Is there anybody online? Okay. With no one wishing to speak, the public comment period is now closed. Are there any commission comments or questions for staff?
Commissioner Burton? I was just wondering, excuse me, what the pros and cons of having a entrance from Knight Drive to a cul-de-sac and having a pedestrian easement from Ridgewood into that cul-de-sac. I mean, is there any pros or cons to that idea?
I'm sure you could come up with a long list of pros and cons for either way. I guess the pro would be that's borough code. Every quarter mile, they want a road. The cons are nobody wants it. Pretty straightforward there. Yeah, there's just a lot of common sense answers, I think, to that. The cons are traffic from the high school, can get out that way, and kids, not respecting the neighborhood and going fast and all that. I think the pros are they have another way out. If the high school has an event or mornings and evenings, if you don't want to get caught in that congestion, you got another way to get out of there, is one way I looked at it. And yeah, you could say safety concerns and maybe criminal activity like was mentioned in the findings, but kind of just common sense stuff either way, I would say.
Okay, and just for my clarity with your answer, I was saying like a walkway between Ridgeway into, like if you have this new developmental area, the only way to access it is Knight Drive, and then it's just a walkway between that cul-de-sac into the Ridgeway. So there wouldn't be any through traffic. I want to make sure I was clear there.
I think I heard him say that what if the cul-de-sac was from Knight Drive?
Oh, hard to design. Yeah. Harder to design that way. Obviously that lot was left to continue as a road. If we did a cul-de-sac from Knight Drive, what do you do with that little panhandle portion? That doesn't meet code for shape. It's just logic that it was set up that way. I think property values would be less if your cul-de-sac came off Knight Drive. Just more desirable to come off Ridgeway, really.
Okay, yeah, and I'm sorry if I wasn't being clear there.
That's fine.
Any other commissioner
Um,
comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, just a question for John. In the Public Work Director, he has kind of outlined where that storm drain is, but he also put some yellow drawing there in the proposed development. What is that?
That's his rendition of what a storm collection system could look like. Essentially, it could enter along the proposed or could enter from the north and then join up to the roadway, to the cul-de-sac, and provide stormwater drainage.
Okay.
It could also come from the other direction, but he thinks it would be closer, and I think because of elevations, it might work better coming off the north rather than the south.
And that's consistent with how the lots are laid out? I mean, it's in the road or?
He's just, drawing
penciling
some stuff.
something in?
Yeah, he's just penciling something in. So, at some point down the road, when it comes time to develop this, we would sit down with the developer, again, through a development agreement, and talk about the type of road that we're going to build, all the attributes of that road. And so we would identify at that point where stormwater drainage would be going and what direction it would be flowing.
Okay. And I assume then that would address Ms. Courtwright's letter about some puddling or whatever, or is that contemplated?
As Kyle mentioned in his report, we're not clear as to the source of that, but certainly this development could not make that any worse. And if possible, we would try to remedy it. And Kyle's thinking that with the provision of stormwater infrastructure, that issue would likely be solved.
Thank you.
Is there any commissioners online that wish to comment? Any questions? Any other questions or comment? Okay, I will be abstaining since I'm on the planning commission for the borough, and I will be voting at the borough level. So call for the vote, please.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Palfest abstains. Commissioner Smithwick Ailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Burton.
Yes.
Motion passed. And through the chair, Commissioner Anderson has an obligation, and he was just here in case you were abstaining. So you're excused now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, we will now move on to item B, resolution. Sorry. Resolution PZ 2023-020, recommending approval of the Riverview Subdivision 2024 replat. We have a motion to approve.
I move to approve resolution PZ 2023-020, recommending approval of the Riverview subdivision 2024 replat.
A second.
Thank you. May we have the staff report, please?
A link to the staff report can be found on page 44 of the printed packet. On October 3rd, 2023, Cygasser Survey Incorporated submitted a preliminary plat to the city for the combination of 3 lots into 2 lots. Cygasser Surveys represents the owner of record, Paul Mulder, James O'Hare, and the O'Hare Russell James Cynthia Lee Revocable Trust. The preliminary plat for parcel 060-15045, which is lot 4, 060-15046, which is lot 5, and 060-15047, which is lot 6. Lot 4 has an area of 0.63 acres. This lot would be combined with a portion of lot 5. The remainder of lot 5 would be combined with lot 6, which is 0.36 acres. The preliminary plat combination result in lot 4A with an area of 0.833 acres and lot 6A also with an area of 0.554 acres. The zoning of the 3 lots is single family, 2-family. The land to the north and east are undeveloped and zoned single family, 2-family. And to the south is the Kenai River without zoning. To the west is zoned single family, 2-family as well, and it is developed with a residential dwelling. The minimum lot size, maximum lot width, and building height and minimum yard standards of our code in 240E are met for the single-family, two-family district in regards to Lot 4A and 6A. With a note that the side yard setback on Lot 4A to the west is unverified if it meets the minimum 5-foot setback. Legal access is from South Porcupine Court. Municipal sewer and water are available. The application was forwarded to the Soldotna Public Works and Streets and Maintenance for their comments. 19 notices were mailed on October 11th. No comments were received. The preliminary plat for the Riverview subdivision 2024 replat meets the standards of our code. Resolution 2023-020 has been provided for your use and recommends approval to the Kenai Peninsula Borough. Thank you.
Are there any commissioner comments or questions for staff? Oh, wait, public comment. I'm sorry. Skip the public comment. The public comment period is now open. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak on this item? Is there anybody online? Okay, with no one else wishing to speak, the public comment period is now closed. Now, are there any commissioner comments or questions for staff? Are there any online? Okay, we'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Smithwick Haley,
Yes.
Commissioner Burton,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
and Commissioner Topaz.
Yes.
Anderson and Padla are both absent and excused, so your motion passed.
Thank you. Okay, we are on to item C, resolution PZ 2023-021, recommending approval of the vacation of 2 utility easements within Lot 1B and Lot 4A on the Paces Pleasant Haven 2022 replat. May I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve resolution PZ 2023-021, recommending approval of the vacation of 2 utility easements within Lot 1B and Lot 4A of the Paces Pleasant Haven 2022 replat.
Second.
Thank you. May I have the staff report, please?
A link to the staff report can be found on page 57 of the printed packet. On September 25th, 2023, Edge Survey and Design submitted a petition for alteration to platted utility easements to the city for the vacation of 2 easements on 2 plats. The plat requests vacating 2 portions of utility easements originally granted by the Kenai Recording District Plat 2022-31 and Plat 2023-31. On February 2nd, 2022, the Soldotna Planning Commission reviewed and approved the preliminary plat for the Paces Pleasant Haven Subdivision Edition Number 3, Kenai Recording District Plat 2022-31, which granted the utility easement on Lot 4A. On November 2nd of 2022, the Soldotna Planning Commission reviewed and approved the preliminary plat for the Paces Pleasant Haven 2022 replat, Kenai Recording District Plat 2023-31, which granted the second utility easement, which is on Lot 1B. Edge Survey and Design represents the owner of record, Henry and Mary Kroll, for both parcels. Parcel number 059-26014, which is addressed as 43540, 43544, 43546, 43550, and 43556 Whistle Hill Loop, has an area of 3.651 acres, and it is termed Lot 1B. Lot 4A was provided for overhead utilities, which either have been recently relocated or so Lot 4A was provided for overhead utilities, which either have been recently relocated or have plans to be relocated to John Circle and Lot 5 of Plat 2022-31. Thus, the 15-foot easement on Lot 4A may be unused by public utilities. A portion of the 15-foot easement through Lot 1B, which is over here, is also currently unused by public utilities. Only a portion of this easement is requested to be vacated. The owner of the vacation of the 2 utility easements allows for the property owner to develop the land without restrictions placed by the easement. The adjacent parcel number 059-26015 is addressed as 231 John Circle, and it has an area of 1.348 acres, and it is termed Lot 4A. These parcels are zoned commercial. Adjacent land to the north, east, south, and west are also zoned commercial. The minimum lot size, width, maximum building height, and minimum yard setbacks for 265E in the code are met for the commercial zoning district. Municipal water and sewer are not available. The application was forwarded to our Public Works Department as well as our Streets and Maintenance Department for their comments. Staff found no objections to the requested utility easement. Contingent upon Homer Electric Association's condition of agreement being met, and that is on page 66 of your packet. How this is set up is that when the surveyor requests this petition for alteration to a platted utility easement, it goes to each of the utilities. So what you see in your packet is the plat with different renditions, and different utilities will have notes. So for example, on page 66 is HEA's notes on the plat. And their request is that the condition requires the primary electric line be rerouted along John Circle and a service line be provided to the existing structure on Lot 5. The preference of staff is to grant the vacation of the easement after a concurrent rerouting of the primary electric line and installation of the service line. It's our understanding that the Kenai Peninsula Borough will contact HEA prior to the plat finalization to seek their approval. And so this is going to be the copy and HEA's comment for that. Legal access is from Whistle Hill Loop, Turnbuckle Terrace Road, Paces Boulevard, and John Circle to these parcels. 18 notices were mailed to property owners within 300 feet and no comments have been received. The preliminary plat for the vacation of 2 utility easements within Lot 1B and Lot 4A of the Paces Pleasant Haven 2022 replat meets the general standards of Soldotna Municipal Code and therefore recommends approval. Resolution 2023-021 has been provided for your use and would recommend approval to the Kenai Peninsula Borough with the condition that the easements are properly recorded. Thank you.
Thank you. The public comment period is now open. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak on this item? Please state your name for the record.
Jason Young, P O Box 59, Kasilof with Edge Surveys representing the landowner on this project. The easement on Lot 4A did have HEA overhead and GCI line on HEA poles, which is not supposed to be, so there's a little bit of tension there, but they've both been moved. The HEA line and the GCI line are now out of that easement and feeding over to Lot 5. The portion of the easement within Lot 1B is just simply not used. HEA requested the little bit that's where it says C detail to remain because they do have some electrical stuff in there. But again, just getting rid of them so we can more usable space. As you probably know, there's a solar farm going in on 4A. I didn't notice if they were up yet, but just getting rid of them so they can use the area, and all the utility companies were in agreement after a while.
Is there anybody online wishing to speak? Anybody else? Okay. With no one else wishing to speak, the public comment period is now closed. Are there any commission comments or questions for staff? And nobody's online, right? Okay, guess we'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Burton,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Commissioner Topfest,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith-Gailey,
Yes.
and then Anderson and Vadla are absent excused, so the motion passed.
All right, thank you. Now we are on to public comments without prior notice. Right. Okay, is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment? Anybody on Zoom? Nope. Okay, then that is closed. Now we're on to informational items. None. Reports, mayor and council reports. Anybody here from the mayor's office of council? Okay, not seeing anybody. City manager report. Nope. Okay, so we will go on to director of EDNP report / associate planner report. There's got to be somebody.
There is somebody.
Okay.
So I've got a few things to share with you. As you know, since we're a short one commissioner. So if you know if you got a neighbor, a friend that lives in the city that you think would be a good fit, please encourage them to apply. We'd like to get back to the full commission. And then also just a reminder that expiring at the end of this year, Mark, your term expires. Dennis, yours does, and then Caitlin's also expires. So we're crossing our fingers that you guys reapply. And the clerk will probably be sending you a application or the notice. So yeah, say whatever it takes, we want you back. So thanks. And then we have our next meeting is actually on November 14th. It's the joint work session with City Council and also with the advisory committee to the Riverfront redevelopment plan. And so please put that on your calendar. It'll be 5 p.m. right here. Basically our consultant will be there and we'll share with you the draft plan, the concepts that are being proposed, and we'll be gathering feedback to ensure that what's being proposed is in fact the direction that we want to go. And then at your December meeting, we should have the actual plan in front of you for your recommendations for adoption to give to council. Then on council, I think the council meeting is on the 14th or the 13th. I'm not sure the date, but anyway, they would then be considering the plan for formal adoption and voting on it. Council at the last meeting did approve the sign variance changes that you recommended at your last meeting. So that went well. You'll also be seeing in December a number of other minor code changes that Jen and I have noticed through the years. And I'm sure you have too. One is the storage yard fences. I don't know if you remember that one section of code said it had to be 6 feet, one said it had to be 8 feet. We're going to come back to you with the fix for that. Daycares is another issue in the code. Our code right now requires a conditional use permit for a daycare in a residential area. And we are proposing that be an administrative permit to reduce the burden on the applicant. So the applicant would still have to be state licensed and follow all those requirements. It's just, they wouldn't have to go through the permitting process for a conditional use permit and pay $265 and have an extended time period. They would be able to get that permit administratively. So that will be another consideration for you. And then second to last, short-term rental general standards. We have currently as our short-term rental code is set up, it mistakenly places the general standards for short-term rentals under one particular section of the code where it isn't clear that those standards apply to all types of short-term rentals. So we want to fix that to make it perfectly clear that those standards apply to all short-term rentals. And then last, how we count duplexes with regard to multifamily developments. We have a disparity right now as far as how we are considering that in our multifamily district. When we have a lot standard, we basically say that the minimum lot standard for multifamily development is, for example, 8,400 square feet. And then for each additional unit, the lot size increases by a certain number depending on whether it's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or 3-bedroom unit. That operates differently than what we have in our other districts for duplexes. Basically, a duplex in our other districts just needs 8,400 square feet, but a duplex in the multifamily needs 8,400 feet plus an additional 1,600 or 2,200 square feet. So we again want to make those consistent in our approach. So again, you'll be seeing some resolutions coming in front of you in December, hopefully addressing these issues. And then last, I don't, Jen, were you gonna cover Pay Street or no? Okay, we have one new violation. Thanks, Jason. We we have one new violation on Pay Street. We received a complaint about the condition of that property, and we went and took a look at it, and it is, it's very bad. And so, we have issued a notice of violation, and both the building official and P and Z department are working on that one to try to get that cleaned up and get it, into compliance with our code. And meanwhile, we continue to work on our other dozen or so violations that we've got in our folder. And that's the end of my report.
Through the chair, I would just add that we also have the Turnbuckle Terrace violation that we, or no, I guess it wasn't a notice of citation. Forget what. Or, so we had one other that had an encroachment issue. So the building structure is currently in construction and it's built over the property line. And so the adjacent property owner conducted a survey and found that to be true, and it's marked, and then we sent notice to the property owner, and we're hoping to get that resolved. Luckily, it's not on a permanent foundation, so it should be an easier fix than another alternative. That's all we have.
Thank you. Any questions? I have a comment and a question on the 14th, the work session. Will that be Zoom? I will be in Chicago. Okay. I think I may be able to attend Zoom. Yeah. Okay.
I will also be out of state that night.
Okay, we'll move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Murray. Oh.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great point. And one of the reasons why we're comfortable suggesting it be administrative is that we haven't had issues. People have brought that particular issue up in the past. But what we found is the daycares typically, they have people coming and going at all different times. So there isn't usually a large group of folks that show up, at 7:30 a.m. or 8 a.m. and cause a congestion problem. It's sporadic, people coming and going, and it hasn't been an issue. In the memo that I've drafted for you guys, I've mentioned that we have not had any problems or complaints with our daycares where we've issued conditional use permits. It hasn't been an issue. You certainly are correct that we've had people testify about the potential for, and I think that is the big reason, or that is the big issue is potential for traffic. There's less concern about, noise or that type of thing. It's always just been about the number of cars coming down the road. I had been in contact with the owner's attorney and I haven't gotten an update from him in a little bit, but he continued to state that, you know, they will work with property owners and be flexible as best they can. But we have not seen, or I've not heard any more from residents there. So I don't know whether they are finding spaces or not, but we don't have any particular solutions ourselves to offer at this point, except to direct them to resources that are out there that hopefully will provide them either housing, legal, or any other assistance that they may need as they, you know, look for a place to live.
Oh, sorry. One of the residents that spoke to you 2 months ago, he did meet with the city manager and they had a pretty long meeting, and then that caused a conversation within staff. The assistant to the city manager did compile a list of resources then to hand out to the residents. And so that was kind of the things that you come to mind, like the Alaska Housing Finance Corporation, and there is about 7 different resources. So although the city doesn't have anything specific, it was able to at least help in that regard.
Commissioner Burton?
Yes, just continuing on with that, I think it might be useful just to continue to follow up with that issue as we move along. I think in the past we talked about potentially or putting together a work group to figure out what to do with this, and you guys have obviously done a lot and you're short-staffed. So I don't know whether I should continue to suggest, you know, whether we still try to do that. But if not, at least I'd be interested in continuing to hear what the updates are on, because this is something that is important to our city. So it's our community. And thank you for all your hard work putting this together. Much appreciated, guys.
Okay, thank you. Smith McKaylee? Commissioner?
No comment.
And there's nobody online, and just have a great week, everybody. That's my comment. Have a great week. Well, it's long. I guess we'll adjourn. The next regular meeting of the Soldotna Planning and Zoning Commission will be held on December 6th, 2023 at 5:30 in person in the City Council chambers. And we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.